Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to the May monthly meeting. President's report. Been very busy at a committee level. We've got a lot of things going on. The subcommittees are doing absolutely fantastic work to bring things to the membership. So I've had communication with Viv, and we're just about up to the number of trips we were pre-COVID, which is absolutely fantastic. So well done to all the trip leaders who are bringing that, volunteering their time, trips for the good of the membership. So well done all the trip leaders, and well done to Viv and the trip leader. Also, education, YARC management, we're pretty much back to where we were pre-COVID. The numbers are up, everything's looking good. We're in a good financial position. Now, I find if you want to get into a little bit of a debate around a campfire, discuss about tyres. And of course, the subset of that is tyre pressures. And luckily we have Steve Burke from Toyo Tyres to tell you all about tyre pressures tonight. So I'd like everyone to bring a warm welcome to Steve.
Look, thank you for that excellent intro, Simon. Look, what we're going to do tonight, we're going to cover a couple of things. Pressures is one. We did talk about that last time. We're also going to talk about tyre choice, and we're going to get a bit specific and a bit tech, which is good. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about tyre choice and whether a 2 or a 3-ply tyre is what you want and or need. So let's have a talk about that. Then we're going to cover quickly a new product that we released earlier this year. And we've got, look, pressures are ultra important, and we're going to talk about those as well. And I had a conversation with a club member yesterday, and it was quite in depth, which is great. So a lot of what he asked about, he was very tech too. So he's going to be involved in what we're going to talk about. So we'll use both of those things. So let's first talk about tyre choice in some specific terms. So now, why I usually start with a lot of talks when we talk about tyre choice. And look, most club four drivers are a bit better. A lot of people choose the tyre they want rather than the one they need. Okay, so a lot of people go out and buy the biggest, toughest looking tyre because they look great, but they need to ask themselves, is that what I need? Okay, and that really relates to what you're going to do with that tyre, what you plan to do with that tyre. And one of the major parts of the tyre is the basic construction, which is the carcass, okay? With an SUV tyre, there's two types, basically. Regardless of what brand, it's either going to be a 2-ply or a 3-ply, okay? So on the surface, that looks like there's not a lot of difference, but you'll find in the market that the difference between a 2 and 3-ply is quite big, okay, in performance and what they do. We're going to talk about that in some detail. Now, most four-wheel drives assume that the heavy-duty option is always going to be the best, okay? And obviously, you probably already know I'm going to tell you that's not always the case. And we'll talk about why, okay? Sometimes what we call, look, light duty is probably not the best term, but it is lighter duty than the 3-ply tyre, if you like, okay? So there's a lot of times when the lighter tyre is definitely better, but there's times when this one is as well. So let's think about it. So look, again, most users tend to go for the heavy-duty option. But yeah, again, the choice is really important. And the cost, this is going to affect your tyre cost as well. So, and we'll talk about that as we go as well. Okay, so we'll look at the 3-ply tyre first and its advantages. So the 3-ply tyre is a more heavy-duty one. Now, what are the advantages of that 3-ply, that more heavy-duty construction in real terms? Minimise sidewall damage, and that's mainly due to this, less sidewall deflection. So we have a stiffer sidewall. Okay, so at the same pressures compared to a 2-ply tyre, we're not getting as much deflection, as much bagging, if you like. So we have a lot less sidewall exposed, okay? That's the biggest one, probably the biggest advantage. Some others, sharper steering response, that's a nice to have. Now, most manufacturers on their 3-ply tyres will have larger side bodies because then we're starting to look at the mud or the hybrid type tyres. So they tend to have a bigger side biter, which again gives you that some more sidewall protection. The other one, which was interesting, I did this a few years ago, and in doing it, I didn't quite click, but one of the guys who worked with me said, well, Steve, one really important point is less sidewall deflection. That means we have more ground clearance. Okay, a bit of a holy grail for the four-wheel drivers. Okay, we do a lot of mods to improve ground clearance to make it easy to get over obstacles. Yeah. Okay, so one big advantage of having less sidewall deflection is we have more ride height. Okay, so yeah, improved ground clearance. So what I've done here, a lot of numbers here, but the basic idea is we have quite considerable amount of, look at even at 20 psi. So as we get lower, we get a bigger difference. Okay, but 12 psi is really very low. We're only going to be using their sort of sand pressures on a light vehicle with a big tyre. Okay, 20 psi or even 25, we're still looking at near on 15 millimetres difference between a 2 and a 3-ply tyre, just looking at the tours. Okay, that's considerable. Okay, just by getting a tyre. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so they were obviously, sorry, before I move on, numbers we did using a specific vehicle and tyre size, doing some measurements. Okay. The disadvantages, okay. And these you've got to consider, okay, because you've got to, whenever you're purchasing a tyre and you're choosing, there's always going to be a positive and negative, okay. If you want those positives, you've got to live with the negatives and you've got to be okay with them, okay. With the 3-ply tyre, one big one off-road is we need a greater pressure change to change our footprint size, okay? Stiffer sidewall means we need to let more out to get that same sort of footprint tyre as we do a 2-ply tyre, which has more flexibility. Disadvantages. Most of these relate to the fact that a 3-ply tyre is going to be heavier, okay? More material, heavier tyre, okay? And the first one is increased fuel consumption, okay? Heavier tyre, more energy to move and stop. Look, I suppose a lot of these things are things that four-wheel drivers wouldn't think about, okay? Slower damper response, okay? A heavier tyre means our dampers or shock absorbers have to work harder, okay? Increased ride harshness. That's pretty simple. We've got less sidewall deflection. That's really easy to understand. Reduce heat resistance. Now, if we're thinking of tyres in terms of being a heat sink, a thicker, heavier tyre holds more heat, okay? It doesn't dissipate as well as a thinner one. Reduce braking performance. Again, this really relates to a heavier tyre, okay? You put a heavier wheel or tyre or a taller one, you're going to notice increased braking distances with the same sort of pressures, okay? So they are the disadvantages. So, and most of these, again, really relate to, well, ride harshness is a feeling thing, but the rest, a lot of it relates to on-road performance. Although, again, slower damper response is really only going to be an issue on the faster dirt road stuff. Okay, 2-ply tyre, the lighter option here. Now, the most obvious advantage comparing the 2 with the 3 is the 2-ply tyre is going to have a better footprint change when we're airing down. They're going to be better on sand at the lower pressures. We're going to get a much bigger footprint change, okay? They ride nicer, less fuel consumption, reduced ride harshness, and improved braking performance, comparing that to a 3-ply heavier tyre, okay? The disadvantages are pretty much the opposite as a 3-ply. So increased chance of sidewall damage because we'll get more sidewall deflection, reduced ground clearance, and a slightly slower steering response, which is more of a feel thing, but these two are really the bigger disadvantages. Okay, so probably the end, what should I buy? What should I look at when I'm buying, okay? And that really should relate to the type of off-roading you're doing, okay? If you're doing occasional off-road and you're not being very adventurous with your off-road and you're doing a lot of road work, the 2-ply tyre, all things considered, is definitely a better option. Now, also keep in mind, a 2-ply tyre is generally going to be a lower purchase price because they're usually your AT style tyres. You add that to your increase in fuel consumption, get with a 3-ply tyre, they are a much lower price option over the life of the tyre. But if you're a serious off-roader and you need that high level of puncture resistance, 3-ply tyre is probably your best option if you would need that reliability off-road. Okay. All right. So our lineup for this year has changed and we've introduced a brand new product called, well, we now have 2 versions of the Open Country RT, okay? They look pretty much the same pattern, but they are very different. I'm here to tell you a bit about why they are different and why it's an option some should consider. So just for your information too, so the Open Country AT3 range will pretty much replace all the AT2s by mid-year, okay? There's only a couple of sizes left in the AT2. The MT, yep, that will continue to be available as our most aggressive, most heavy-duty option in the Toyota range for serious off-roaders. Now, let's talk a little bit about, so the big difference, as we can see from the two flags here, the new version of the RT is a Japanese-made tyre, okay? And although it looks similar or almost the same as the American-made one, the only thing they really have in common is the tread pattern. Otherwise, they are totally different products. So let's talk about them. So look, the RT ex-USA has been very successful for us. It fits between your traditional all-terrain and a mud tyre. It's virtually a mud tyre construction-wise. Heavy-duty 3-ply tyre, very deep tread depth. So very much designed for the serious off-roader who wanted something similar to a mud tyre but with a little bit nicer performance on-road. Now, what we saw in the market was, and it's a growing market all the time, a spot between your traditional AT and the RT, okay? Somebody who wanted something a little bit more aggressive than the AT3 or even the old AT2, but not that full 3-ply ultra heavy duty tyre like the RT. And that's what we have with the Open Country RT Japanese produced tyre. So same tread pattern, but quite different. It's really designed for occasional off-roaders. 2-ply tyre, okay, compared to 3-ply with the American tyre. That's probably the biggest difference construction-wise. So much nicer on-road compared to the American tyre. There's been no surprise to or no secret that sourcing the American RT has been an issue for some time. The Japanese version, supply-wise, is much better as well. Also, the size range is different. So this is the Japanese tyre size range is really aimed more at OE replacement sizes with a couple of aftermarket sizes as well. So it's really aimed at the occasional off-roader who hasn't got a big lifted, heavily modified vehicle. Light mods or standard vehicles really designed for those sort of vehicles, okay? Serious off-roaders, yeah, we still have the American RT and the MT for those who want that full 3-ply ultra heavy duty construction. Okay, so, yep, size range. So small size range, and the ones in yellow are really the high demand ones. So just to give you an idea, the top two sizes here, they are the two best-selling all-terrain sizes in Australia, in the Australian market. So we have those. They are LT, so they're light truck, but 8-ply rather than 10-ply. Okay, so the American RTs are 10-ply. These are 8. Not quite as heavy duty. Some other really popular sizes, 265/77, 285/77, also a popular aftermarket size. 285/60/18, that is a straight passenger construction replacement for your 200 series, okay, in 18s. A couple of other rodboard sizes, but the ones in yellow are really the main size we expect to sell quite a few of. So in summary, if you're looking at all-terrain tyres and you want something that little bit more aggressive, without giving away too much on-road performance, this is a really good option. So I've run a set for 8,000 Ks now. I don't do off-road, okay? What surprised me about them is two things. The ride, it's very similar to the AT3, okay? The on-road performance, considering how aggressive the pattern is. It's very similar to the AT3. The noise level is slightly higher. You'd expect that from a more aggressive pattern. One thing you would expect, but compared to your AT3, is better off-road traction. That really much more open tread design on the shoulders is going to give you that advantage off-road compared to your standard AT3. Okay, all right, something new. All righty, pressures. Okay, so I'll get his name. It was Greg West. He rang me yesterday. He said he's in hospital at the moment. Hope he's feeling a little better. He had a lot of detailed questions that relate to pressures, okay? He'd been checking his pressures and confirming whether they were good or not using two methods, using his tyre pressure monitoring system, so checking the difference between his cold and hot pressures, which is really good. And he's also got an infrared gun too, so to check the tyre temps, okay? So he had a lot of questions about what to check, how much. So his questions were, what tyre pressures? Now, should he be using? Now, this is where I come to this slide. So, and this applies to everyone. So when people ring me up about tyre pressures, now, especially with modified four-wheel drives, now when we go to most clubs, most people have modified four-wheel drives, okay? Standard vehicles, it's a little bit easier to work out pressures because you can work off the tare weight and add a bit. But when we look at modified four-wheel drives, I highly recommend you actually get them weighed, okay? Then we can be very accurate with pressures. We're not guessing. And I, being a tech guy, and wanting the best result, I hate guessing, okay? Small investment. There's quite a few organisations now that'll come to you and do your weighing. A lot of those are advertising, especially combining your caravan, if you have that too, checking your towable weights and all that as well, which is, for me, highly recommended. So there's two things you can do here. As well as getting those axle weights, so we can be accurate with our pressures, you can also check the legality of vehicles. So Greg asked me about that. Now, legalities and tyres, okay, so the GVM thing and your vehicle weight, that's something you have to look at, okay? I can give you advice on pressures, okay? The actual weights of the vehicles compared to legalities is something you've got to sort, okay? But when somebody rings me and they have axle weights, I'll give them 3 pressures, okay? I'll give them one for highway, one for what we call, and actually Greg was spot on, he said an 80 kilometre an hour average maximum for dirt road work, okay, which is generally lower, obviously, than your highway pressure, and then one for what we call slow speed off-road, so a maximum average of 30 kilometres an hour, okay, and that's for sand and slow speed off-road, okay, and obviously much lower pressure to get our much bigger footprint. Okay, but how do we work it out? As already at the axle weights and the tyre size. If we have those two, we can be very accurate with those recommendations. If we have a vehicle that's near stock, we can work off the tare weight. That works quite well. If we've got a vehicle that we've got a lot of modifications, we can make estimates, but they're estimates, okay? Then we're guessing the split front to rear or estimating. And again, yeah, estimates are obviously not near as good as what we know. And that, I highly recommend, again, making that investment and knowing what your vehicle weighs. Okay. What else? Greg had some very detailed questions also about tyre pressure monitoring systems. Now, I'm a big fan of them. They're great, okay? The big advantage, especially if you're a caravan, and you've got those tyres all the way back there, if you have a tyre that is deflating, it'll tell you before it's a black gooey mess on the side of the road, okay? So it can save you quite a lot of money like that. And obviously the safety side of not trying to drive with a deflating tyre is obviously a good thing. They all have a temperature reading, but to be frank, regarding tyres, it tells you nothing, okay? That's a sensor on the end of a valve, okay? It's not going to tell you what's happening inside the tyre, okay? What it's going to tell you is how hot that air is running past that sensor, okay? So if you've got a lot of brake temp sometimes, it'll give you a spike, but it's not going to tell you about the tyre. So I wouldn't worry about that temperature. What it does tell you about is the difference between your hot and cold pressures, okay? That is critical, okay? If we've got a big difference, okay, that's telling us the tyres are too hot and we've started with a cold pressure that's too low, okay? But if we've gone through this and we have our pressure recommendations from our manufacturer, you're not going to have issues with that, okay? So I invite all of you who've bought brand name tyres to get their manufacturers to, ring them up and get your recommendations. Now, that's obviously a service we offer. And I know most tyre manufacturers of well-known brands, if you call them up with that information, they'll be able to give you accurate pressure recommendations, okay? Another reason, look, brand name tyres are usually more expensive than non-brand ones, but that's part of your purchase price as well. All right. That's pretty much all I had to cover regarding pressures. But yeah, the big one is, one size doesn't fit all. Okay, that's really, really important. If somebody comes up, I've got this vehicle, what are the pressures? Without a lot more information, I can't provide anything that's of any use, of any accuracy, So, okay, all right. That's all I've got prepared. Is there any questions tonight? And look, questions are all good. Trust me. Yes.
Just wondering what your formula actually is, given that if we do know what our axle weights are, the weight of the car, brand of the tyres, the size of the tyres, what is the formula? Do you have that?
I've got a couple of formulas, yep. And but it's not. The safety margins vary too. Okay, so I've used formula and a safety margin as well. The safety margins vary. Now, some vehicles, I'll pick on a vehicle, and it's not a bad vehicle. Okay, it's just that it has an independent rear end, which means that when we load them up, they get a lot of negative camber. Okay, it's not a Toyota. It's not a bad vehicle, but it's just a nature of that vehicle. So that means that they're a lot more prone to, when a big sign of underinflation is once we start cracking above the B. Okay, you're seeing that tyre's overheating and failing because it hasn't got enough pressure for the load. That's the sign. The light truck ones, that's where they'll fail first. So I use a formula, safety margin. So, yeah. But yeah, it does vary on the vehicle. But again, knowing the axle weights is key to be giving accurate recommendations. Yeah. Look, please ask. Look, myself and Dylan are going to, we're not going to hang around for the end tonight. Dylan's got a long way to go. Sorry, but so if you've got any questions, fire away now, please.
I noticed that you got no 16-inch tyres. A lot of us have Land Cruiser 79s. We run 16-inch rims.
In that particular new product, we don't. But in the open country AT3, the RT, the American version, we do. And you're right. The 2857 516 is a big one. 2657 516. In those patterns, we do have 16s and the mud tyre as well. So just not the new one. Okay. So you've got probably 3 choices in those sizes, just not the new open country RT from Japan. Yeah.
When you're talking about the 2-ply versus 3-ply,
yes,
light duty, heavy duty, is that really just its puncture resistance that you're talking about there? Through the main part of the carcass, or just a sidewall?
Sidewall. Okay. So on top of that carcass, all these tyres will have 2 steel belts, but they vary too in thickness. Okay. And not on cap ply. Some will have 1, some will have 2. Okay. So it's mainly the sidewall because that's the only bit that extends. The steel belts and the nylon are on the top, okay, on the tread section. The sidewall is the carcass only, which is what we're looking at there, okay? If we're getting a little bit more technical too.
Well, we also looked at one of your charts there and it said 8-ply.
Yes.
What's that 8-ply?
This is a really, awesome point. Okay, so the actual, now you'll hear a term when you're buying tyres, the ply rating, okay? And the number of plies, they're 2 different things. Okay, really important point. So all these tyres we looked at here, we can have, all these tyres are either 8 or 6 ply, but they've got 2 or 3 plies. So it's 2 different things. So just to give you now, a lot of the ratings and so on, I think in our industry, to be frank, are confusing. Okay. The ply rating is a very old school measure of casing strength, okay? And I'll tell you how old it is. It comes from before we had materials like polyester, okay? It was when they used to use cotton for carcass. That was the number of plies. Now it's not. It's based on the strength, okay? But so that's why that is 2 different things, okay? So just to give you an example in another type of tyre, like your truck tyres we see on semi-trailers and so on, most of them are 16-ply. They will have 1 physical ply of steel, okay? So it's to do with the casing strength, the ply rating. The number of plies is a different thing, Okay. It is confusing. I agree.
And just one more question.
Yes.
My understanding is a lot of the temperature change in tyres comes from the sidewall flex.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
if you're running too low a deflation, the sidewall flex, air temperature heats up, and that's
Spot
what will
on.
eventually destroy
Yes.
the tyres. That's right.
That's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. That's what generates the heat. So if we don't have enough pressure, we've got too much flex, too much heat. Yeah. Spot on. Absolutely correct. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Look, again, thanks very much. I know that, look, as a company, we're very happy with our association with the Toyota Land Cruise Club of Victoria. Yeah, it's been really good. And again, thank you again for the invite. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve and Dylan. It's great to have the technical guys here, and much appreciated. Thank you, and for the ongoing support. It's great to have you guys in the club. It's very much appreciated. And a big round of applause. Thanks, guys. When you get one of the technical guys down here to talk turkey about tyre pressures and offer the service of, it goes without saying, go and weigh your cars. And I think we had a sponsor not long ago, and he might be able to remember the name of those guys who did the weighbridge, because we gave away a weighbridge as part of the raffle tickets. Well, thank you. Thanks, Liz. Weigh station guys, so you can go and contact those guys. They'll do obviously a ripping deal, and then you'll be able to go confidently to the guys at Toyo and say, "These are my axle weights. This is what I got on the caravan. This is what I got on the front set of tires. This is what I got on the back set of tires. These are the tires I have. These are the Toyo RTs or whatever's on your vehicle," and they'll be able to give you a good recommendation of where to go, which is absolutely fantastic, invaluable. It will help from you destroying valuable tires. So, thank you again. Now, moving on with the video. First video for the night. This is edited by Steve McAdam, surprisingly. Well done. So I'll tell you what, you're a ripper with that editing suite. Beauty. So it's Mount Pin Bar and Surrounds. Triple leader was LeJoe. So let's all watch the video.
Thanks all.
Another great video. Thanks, Steve. Absolutely fantastic. And thanks to LeJoe, who's a new member of the club, for running the trip. And I believe we have a late to the party visitor, Craig Wenner. Craig, you in the room here somewhere? Okay, stand up, mate. Let's get a microphone out to Craig if we could, please. Now, Craig, you have to tell us, mate. Introduce yourself, and most importantly, what sort of car do you drive?
If I said something other than Land Cruiser, would that be the wrong answer?
No, that'd be fine. It depends on what sort of Toyota or Subaru or whatever you drive.
Okay, my name's Craig. I come from Mornington, and I bought a new Land Cruiser 300 GXL just coming up to 12 months ago.
300. Well done.
And I haven't done very much off-roading at all. In my previous car, which was a Colorado, I towed a caravan to Birdsville and Cape York, all the way to the tip and back. But it could do it, but it was really hard work on the car. So I decided to go for something that would do it with much more ease and comfort for everybody.
Yep.
And so upgraded to the Land Cruiser, ordered it October before, waited 9 months. And I've been just doing little things to it. The most recent thing was I put a bull bar and driving lights, and the bull bar made it drop about 20 mil in the front. So I had to put new springs in it. So now it sits up about 40 mil higher than standard height, but it's taken a lot of the wallow out of the front of it as well. So very happy with things. And I've come along to get to know what you guys do and hopefully get some training under my belt and see parts of Australia that you can't without a four-wheel drive.
Beauty. And it's exactly the right place. Welcome, Craig. And if there's a better caravan tuggo there that can actually go four-wheel driving, well, I haven't seen it. When you go to the Land Cruisers, 200s and 300s, absolutely fantastic. Okie dokie. Moving on from there, subcommittee reports. First up, Chris Tribble, driver training. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, Simon. How are you?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Good evening. Whoops, unmute myself. Is that better? You can hear me?
No, I still got you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Just a quick note. I've got we've put about there's 15 new members that went through at the end of April through the practical course up at Yark. So we're back, like you said before, our numbers are getting back to normality again. And we've actually got, I think we've got 17 going up at the end of this month. So we've got some booked out for, so that's May is booked out, and April is also a full house. June is also a full house as well. And what I wanted to also mention tonight is that if you look on the website under the DA information, you will notice that I've actually completed the July course as being for the advanced course. So we're looking at taking about 8 participants to come, any members that would like to do the advanced driver training course. There'll be a theory night. It'll be held on Zoom, and it's the July dates that are on the site. All that you need to be aware of is you need to be a member for at least 2 years in the club, naturally, and have done your DA naturally, and you'll need to have a winch, an electric winch fitted to your vehicle. That's it, Simon. Thank you kindly.
Beauty. Thanks very much, mate. Now, the advanced course, be there or be square, it's absolutely fantastic time. You'll learn how to winch with a high lift jack, turfer, all sorts of great things. The only disappointment is you'll have to put up with me because I've been roped into heading up there again. So I'm going to turn over a car, short tyre repair, not the tyre repair this man here runs, not that comprehensive, but a basic tyre repair, all sorts of wonderful things you'll learn in that course. So be there or be square. Okay, moving on now. Next one we have is education. Welcome, Liz Mills.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome any visitors and new members tonight. I've got a very short talk with you tonight. So basically, it's more of a thank you to Justin Gill. We had a HEMA mapping course over the weekend. Justin is an expert in anything HEMA and HEMA HX2, which he did a lot of work on over the weekend, and the HEMA HX1, which some people do still have. And he gave up his Mother's Day weekend for us. So that was fantastic. His poor wife was left shopping in Alexandra all weekend. So he may have had an expensive weekend. So thank you very much to him. He did a great job, and he donated, I think it's a map of Australia to us to put up in the MPB. So we yet to find a space to put that. And thank you to all the members that came. We had about 23 in there, so it was a full house over the weekend, and beautiful weather, so we had a great weekend. So that's about it for the moment. I'm still working on trying to get other things for the rest of the year, so you'll have to bear with me. And I'll say good night. Thank you.
Yes, if you want to get into the raffles, head on over now. But you certainly don't want to miss out on David McAllister talking about trips. So whilst David's talking about trips, and I'm raising up, how high does this thing go?
G'day. Well, I'm not as good looking, I suppose, as Viv, but you'll have to do with me and my beard. It's just a very quick one. Viv's just asked me to mention that Scott Hamilton's Big Red Bash bound trip still has vacancies and is on the website. That's it, folks.
Okay. All right. Now, speaking of trips, we also have a quick presentation from Alison Hilton.
So good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here and for listening to my presentation. I had initially titled it Reflections of a Trip Leader, but my English teaching husband decided he wanted to call it Trips. Now, there's someone in the room who will recognise this picture, courtesy of Chris Atkins. All the background photos, except the obvious ones that aren't, taken by my husband on our various trips. Before I go through the slide presentation, I'd just like to say we joined the club back in 2015 and did our DA. And about a year after that, we became qualified trip leaders when Liz and John were running the trip leading course. And Chris and I run about 3 trips a year. And mostly that's what we think is a reasonable contribution on our behalf back to the club. And basically tonight, that's what I'm here to talk about. Next slide, please. Oh, I can do it. So first question to all of you in the audience and those of you at home on Facebook and also on Zoom. Hands up if you like going on 4-wheel drive trips. I reckon this has got to be a no-brainer. There can't be anyone sitting in this room that's not going to put up their hand for that. So the next question is to all of you. Hands up in the last 12 months if you've attended a maintenance weekend. All these questions are the last 12 months. Hands up if you've worked at a 4-wheel drive or caravan show display. Hands up if you've been involved with DA. Hands up if you was assisted with Cruisacana. I'm getting to see a few hands going up fairly regularly here. Hands up if you've served on the committee in the last 12 months. Yeah, last 12 months. Well, that would be all. That's the last committee as well, then I imagine. Hands up if you've led a club trip. I think that everyone comes to these meetings is responsible for doing everything. Hands up if you've organised a social activity. Hands up if you're a new member and you've just joined the Toyota Land Cruiser Club. That's a pass to have not going to be asked to do the next thing. Hands up if you've helped with a club shop or the library. Hands up if you've sold raffle tickets or auctioned items. Or if you've been involved in organising of the 50th anniversary of the Toyota Land Cruiser Club. Or if you've assisted with monthly meetings. Or if you've assisted with IT. Or any other volunteer activity which helps us run our club. So I think what we can see here is that there are a lot of people, and it's often the same people, that are involved with the day-to-day running and activities. They all volunteer their time. People are not paid to do this. So I just want to make that very clear. And I'd like to offer a really big thank you to all those people. Now, the next slide is a statistic. Thank you to Viv, who provided this slide for me, or the information. I created the slide. Our club has 56 registered trip leaders. Having said that, though, what you can see from the slide, so the blue down there is 20 is this year and the last half of last year. And the orange column is the number of trips led in that year. So looking at 22 and 23, we had 20 trip leaders run 39 trips. So first of all, there's some mathematics there that's fairly obvious. What happened to the other 36 registered trip leaders? So that's question number one. And then the next one is, why did just one of the trip leaders run 9 trips? I mean, that's a lot in a year, but one of them managed to run 9 trips. So, I mean, I think it's possible to do a few trips. And then we go through the COVID spell where it was pretty low, which is unfortunate. But the statistic that we're seeing there is around about the right one. Around about 20 people are running around about twice as many trips. So I think as a club, we need to improve that. We really, really need to. So the next question is, why do you want to lead trips? This is our T-van and our Land Cruiser. Somewhere nice. So it's an opportunity to meet new people. If you just run your own trips and you just go away with your friends, then you miss on that opportunity. The next reason might be to build confidence and skills, particularly for new members. I think the Toyota Land Cruiser Club, to keep it alive, we need to have trips on offer. I mean, that's what people want to do. I think they join a four-wheel drive club, partly if they've got an old vehicle and they want to have the club membership, but also if they want to go four-wheel driving, and many do both. To be able to enjoy the great outdoors. So I think that it's an opportunity to go to some really lovely places. And I think we're very lucky in Victoria that we have a vast range of mountainous, seaside, various places that you can drive close by and far, in the distance. So out towards the border, there's lots of different driving we can do. See the local and remote flora and fauna and the scenery. So there's lots of really lovely things you can see. If you're the lead vehicle, you can avoid the dust. And certainly over the last weekend, that wasn't the case. But a lot of the time, many of these tracks are reasonably dusty. Decide on where you want to go. So it's your choice. You don't have to go on the trips that are offered. You can make your decision about where you want to go. We need more trip leaders to become active. We've got the national gathering coming in 2025, and we're expecting 200 individuals, and there are about 100 vehicles, and we're wanting to run at least 5 days worth of trips. And probably if you say 8 to 10 people on a trip, then that needs to divide out to quite a few trip leaders running trips. Okay, so why aren't more people running trips? And this is my thoughts, but I'm sure there's more. And if you are a trip leader and you're not running trips, or if you are somebody that isn't a trip leader but would like to become a trip leader, maybe you can help discuss this with the people that are trip leaders, and specifically with the committee, and maybe we can find out the reasons behind it. But I think time, a lot of us are very time poor. I think confidence. I think that, you can see sometimes people don't know whether they're happy to drive across that river. How deep is it? Is my car going to be washed away? Confidence in leading other people, confidence in their own ability, let alone the ability of the people they're taking with them. So these are things that you can get around, not time. We can't buy time. The paperwork. I must admit, if you're okay on the computer, it's not too bad. But if you don't like computers, you do need to make yourself familiar with wild apricot and how to do that. That's part of the trip leader training. The cost of operating a vehicle. So if you are going to do a recce trip, if you haven't been there before, it's quite expensive now to take a four-wheel drive and do that initial reconnaissance trip and then also run the trip. Lack of time to do the recce. You can, if you want to, advertise as a recce trip, and then you don't have to do the recce, and then next year you've done the recce and you can run the trip. And I get around checking the tracks by ringing the local DSE office, the Department of Sustainability Environment. So I ring those guys and they usually tell me if there's issues on the track. People think that a trip belongs to another trip leader. Well, unless it's in their own back garden, sorry, it doesn't. So, I think you're quite welcome to use other people's trips. And if anything, I would encourage that. Speak to the person that has done a trip previously, or do it in the reverse direction on the same weekend, or do it with an hour or two difference when you depart. I think that, it's not owned by anybody. And I just ask you to think if there's other reasons that you might have for why we don't have more trips being offered. So the resources are out here. As Liz said, we had the HEMA guy come up on the weekend to Yark, and this is their display of HEMA maps. But HEMA they also offer the rooftop maps that are really good. You can get the HEMA device on your phone, so you've got it as a live tracking device. There's various other devices. I choose to use HEMA, but other people use Australia, is it? Apps, sorry. Explore Oz. And so there's a lot of devices you can use or apps you can use to track where you're going. This is a book I bought a year or so ago at one of the four-wheel drive shows, which is four-wheel drive tracks that are close to Melbourne. It's a step-by-step guide. And I did both of them. I've done 2 trips out of them without really doing a reconnaissance. At the beginning, it's a bit gnarly because you usually turn the wrong way going out of town. But after that, it's fine. And you just follow the steps that are outlined for you and make sure that Range Rover have got it right, because they did most of the trips in this book. So what can we do to help you become an active trip leader? I mean, obviously, Viv Gardner is the trips coordinator, but please talk to other trip leaders, other club members, DA instructors. There's a lot of people out there that you can talk to about becoming a trip leader. So for those of you that are already trip leaders and haven't led a trip for the last 3 years, apparently is the criteria. 22nd of June, there's a Zoom meeting, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock to refresh your skills. I think most of it's really just refreshing yourself with the requirements of the paperwork. So, and then obviously some extra things. You've heard the offer from the DA team to do the rescue, DA advanced rescue skills. I think that's certainly worth doing. I think it's good to look at the educational offerings and do a first aid update, or pick people who have those skills. So when you have people put their names down for the trip, look what their skills are. If you want someone that's first aid trained, then they're your first priority. If you want somebody who's done advanced rescue, then put them on the trip. If you want someone with mechanical experience, put them on the trip. So you get to sort of choose who comes. And I always think it's worth inviting someone that you know and that you can rely on, so that if you've got to do rescues, you've got other people that you know their capabilities and know won't get stressed, or, can help you through it, because it needs more than one person. As our illustrious leader has said, once you're stuck, there's no rush. You just need to take the time and get yourself out of here. So volunteer to lead a trip, please. Engage with the other members. Enjoy contributing to one of the core activities of our club, because really the Toyota Land Cruiser Club needs you, and you can see he's wearing our badge. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Absolutely fantastic presentation, Alison. Well done. I know I'm running a little desert trip. It's oversubscribed. If anyone wants to run a little desert trip on the King's birthday long weekend, come and see me. I think I've got 8 people on the wait list at the moment. And I know Graham's also got people on the wait list as well. He's running a trip that we're meeting up with from the other side of Little Desert, as Graham Innes and Veronica, of course. And so if you want a trip handed to you on a platter, Little Desert, I know the DA team are offering to run tail end challenge, so they'll be able to cover any recovery you need to do, any issue you come across, everything from, a car's rolled over to intermarital disputes. Isn't that right, mate? Okay. Any issue that arises, they will be able to take care of. Okay. So, get out there and make a difference. Okay. Next up, we have Geelong with Alison Williams. Welcome, Alison.
Thanks, Simon. Good evening, everyone. Great to see a few more people here this evening. Geelong's chugging on well. We had a meeting where we went through all of the local suppliers, and we'll have that list available at the next meeting for everyone to, we went through for, springs and regassing air cons and all sorts of things of trusted people that we've all utilised and found to be really good. We've got 3 guest speakers lined up for the next 3 meetings. And we have a social on the 27th of this month at Clarabow, which is a restaurant in Kaluas, and everyone's welcome. Saturday evening. It's a formal restaurant, so dress up and join us. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks very much, Alison. So if you're on the correct side of the West Gate, as I like to call it, get down to the Geelong. There's always something happening there. They're always having socials. It's all happening down there. They're having lots of special guests. It's absolutely fantastic. They're moving along very nicely down there. Lots of people, and come join in the fun, as they say. Rightio. Now Q&A. Do we have anything on Q&A? Oh, can you just get a microphone, please, for a moment?
Piers Thompson has said a hands up yes to a club trip, and he did run one over the 50th. So Piers, I assume that means you're going to put your hand up to run another one in the near future. Brian Mednick said, can someone please buy our Prado so we can buy a Land Cruiser 200 and run more trips? And on a more serious note, John, for you, John Price has asked, can we have an email address to volunteer to? So we might get that put up on the Facebook page. And in the newsletter. So we'll make sure that goes out in the weekend wrap and up on the Facebook page.
Beauty, no worries. All right. Well done to Piers getting behind there. And we know Brian, of course, is a prolific trip leader. And maybe on to the next thing, I'd like to welcome Brian to the podium to tell you all about what's happening down at Yark. So warm welcome everyone to Brian.
Good evening, everyone. Last month, we had a pretty good turnout. Well, the last 2 months. There's a report in this month's magazine which sort of covers the last 2 months. We had nearly 50 people up there over those 2 weekends, and 13 of those were new members, which was really good. So they get a pretty good introduction to the club up there. It's not quite as much pressure as with the DA weekend, because you sort of get to move around a bit and talk with a few of the regular team up there, which works out pretty good. This coming weekend, we've got another maintenance weekend. So there's quite a few people who've already booked in for that. So that's really good. I'd just like to mention Alison's presentation there. That was pretty good. And I think that you can probably take a lot of points from that and move them over to the Yark side of things, because it's, get involved, and a lot of those things just sort of fitted in really well with, what we do and how we go about it, except the word trip's not in it. It's more tasks to be done. Yeah. Yes. Our last Yark management meeting, Marcus, the treasurer, he came along, and we went through our budget and sort of have done a draft for the budget, and he's working on that one. And as he said, we've got quite a bit of work and a bit of expenses and that for up at Yark. So he's keeping right on top of that. And as Sandra mentioned earlier about the CFA weekend in October, so put that in your calendar, and hopefully special events or something can be part of that as well. It doesn't fall on our maintenance weekend, because we've moved the maintenance weekend 1 week earlier to leave that weekend open for Cruisacana if there is such a thing this year. And the Kids' Day in September, Alison and Greg Fleet, they'll be sort of organising quite a few things for the kids on that day. And we've also got in the pipeline as a stargazing night, probably on a Friday night, maybe the June or July meeting, maintenance weekend. The guy who's running that is hopefully coming up this weekend to just check things out and see where the best spots are that he can run that from. Yes, we've got a breathalyzer up at Yark, which is there for use at Cruisacana. Make sure nobody's over the limit and it's competing. I brought that back last time. It's going to Gabby's taking it back, and we're getting it serviced and whatever needs replacing in it, so that it'll be up and ready for the next time that we need it. Yeah, as I said, we've got quite a few people booked in for this coming weekend. There's going to be a bit of work done down at the Birch Hut toilet. The stumps and what have you will be coming up. The holes are already drilled for those, and we're just sort of moving along with that. And eventually we'll get a toilet building there, because all the pipe work and everything is already in. So it's coming along really well. So come up this weekend and join in. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have a social. Now I see Grace is up there. Welcome, Grace.
Hi, everyone. Just about our last social, which was on the 6th of May, a group of us gathered at Warragul at the Trafalgar Holden Museum. That was a good day, just reminiscing, taking a trip down memory lane about the original Holden cars that were built then since the 1800s, since Holden had its name on saddles and buggies and golf clubs, etc. So after we looked around at the museum, we had a cooked barbecue lunch in their new facility, which was enclosed, nice and warm. So we didn't have to go anywhere else, and it was actually really good. Then we drove to the Blue Rock Dam, did a bit of a drive, and then ended up with afternoon tea at the local cafe in Willow Grove. So thank you for everyone that participated. We had a really enjoyable day. Just brainstorming our next social event. I thought, being winter and all, we might just do a restaurant. So I know this really good Lebanese restaurant that does really good entertainment, and you get amazing food. So I thought, why not? It's actually in Balwyn North. At the moment, I'm tentatively looking at 17th of June. It's Saturday night. So for $60 a head, you get like a banquet, and you get like share 3 entrees, 5 starters, 2 mains, 3 sweets, plus entertainment. So all the details will be in the eventually in the weekend wrap. And that's it for me.
Really?
Thank you.
Now I don't see Eric Bishop in the room. I'll tell you what, I've been following him on social media. Oh, there we go, Pete. You are our replacement, Eric, for the night.
Hi, everyone. I've just got a rundown from 4 Wheel Drive Victoria on what they've been doing the last month. I'll just read through them. The 2023 seasonal closures have been released, and please refer to them when planning trips so you do not encounter any closed gates. Parks lists can be found at their website, which I haven't got here, and also on Deekers, which is a new name for Dwelp, on their websites. And it's also been uploaded to the More to Explore app. Now, Track Watch articles are always needed. If anyone from the TLCV would like to submit some, please send them through to projects@fourwheeldrivevictoria.org.au. There is also a camp host opportunity for the King's birthday weekend. So if anyone here is interested, I'll pass this on to the secretary as well. Let the office know. And if you've got a campground in mind, if you're willing to do something like that, it'd be good for the club. They tried our thing up at Ballarat, a come and try day, and apparently it was a great success. There were 52 participants in 35 cars. Lots was learned and a great day had by all. There will be an article in Track Watch with complete rundown of the day to keep your eyes out for. Apparently, there's a local Ballarat club was involved and they got 8 new members from the day as well. The Mount Skeen permit system will reopen at the start of June. This will be now completed fully online. Full details will be explained in e-news. Okay. There will be a presidents and delegates meeting on the 3rd of June at the Manningham Hotel. Club execs will be sent further information soon. Now it is currently National Volunteer Week. We'd like to say thank you to all those volunteers who put in a lot in of hard work and long hours to get the work done. It is a tremendous job. Thank you to all those who also send in volunteers' hours to the 4 Wheel Drive Victoria office. Now, the National 4x4 Show, which we know about, is on at Melbourne Showgrounds in August, on the 18th to the 20th. 4 Wheel Drive Victoria got a display and they offer it to other clubs or member clubs. I think it's usually a free site there, but I think we might have our own side of that show. That's pretty much the lot. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, now Steve Smith. There you go. I got that completely backwards. Steve Smith here tonight. He's away. Okay, no worries. So that was in regards to special events. I believe we've booked in the National 4x4 show. I'm getting nods from Sandra Tanner over there. Thank you. And I think everything is progressing well, as far as I know. I'm getting another nod, so that's really good. Okay. All right. Webmaster. Now, David McAllister is our replacement, Laurie, for the night. So welcome.
Thank you. True.
I'll accept that. Good day, everyone. Sorry. I haven't got much of a update to give for the webmaster, but I just wanted to sort of point out, I just want to say thank you to Alison, Chris and David, who have stepped up to be able to help out while Steve, while the usual guys are away. Look, you know, the IT team are basically, we're a bit of a growing thing. It helps be able to bring, the meetings to you both, here and at home so that you can all enjoy and participate. We're always looking for people who want to sort of help out and assist, not just in terms of running the sort of the AV show, but also things like helping out with the website and, other sort of areas. So if anyone has a desire to sort of maybe get involved, and it doesn't have to be every month, if we're always looking for someone to stand in, if someone is away, put your hand up. We can show you how to run the various systems that we have, or if you like a bit of web development or something, we can show you how to sort of, maintain that system as well. So, that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, so we do have another video. So this is Robe 2022 with Triple A to Chris Treble. This one is edited not by Steve McAdam, by Viv Gardner. So thanks, Viv, and thanks, Chris Treble, for running the trip. It was an absolutely fantastic trip.
Everyone's in relation, just got Ellen to forget. Now, we've got a couple of new people that haven't been to the road before. Chaos.
It's been chopped up a bit. It's rough coming off the beach.
Whoa! Uh-oh. Oh,
The one in the
geez.
middle.
Who's that?
That's Berg.
79.
Yep. 79 wins.
But to be fair, he has 2 more cylinders than the rest of us.
Good to see those naughty little Suzukis together. We can keep an eye on them.
Best part of the trip so far, Brad. Don't say the Zoot getting stuck.
Well, I was going to say the Zoot getting stuck
Right.
twice.
Only twice.
Sand driving, love the sand driving. Painting the dunes at the buggy club was awesome. What else was it? The company.
The company.
The company's really good.
Fantastic. Well done. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention tonight. I draw the meeting to close, and I hope to see you all same bat time, same bat channel next month. Thank you all.